morning to you, our viewers. Welcome again to another exciting edition of the Camnet TV Breakfast Show of today being the 3rd of July 2023. I hope you're having a lovely and beautiful morning. I am your host, Miriam Kemba, and in studio I'm joined by my colleague, Patrick Soko. Good morning.
Good morning, Miriam.
How is your morning so far?
The morning is okay. Yeah, the weather, just getting ready for the weather. Yeah.
I think it's getting more cold, but you know, it usually gets very cold when it's at night. I think around 18 going towards, midnight, it's usually cold. Yeah,
you are right.
Exactly.
So yeah, but those, when Amos is getting some cold ones, will tell you that they don't get this to feel the July. But I don't know what the science is behind that.
Anyway, I really don't know as well, but then we'll get to invite a doctor, just tell us one or two things there where the science is there. But anyway, today we're going to be looking at a topic to dealing with the challenges being faced in the healthy sector, and we'll be joined at 8 hours by a guest who's going to help us discuss our topic this morning. But right about now, we go direct into the healthy corner and just see what the doctors have for us this morning.
Hi, good morning and welcome to the Health Corner on the Breakfast Show here on Camnet TV. I am Dr. Nakuyana Mfaya, and this week we are going to look at a very interesting topic. We touched on it last week. We talked about hypertension, and we discovered what hypertension is and some of the causes and complications of hypertension. And this week we are going to talk about one of the complications of hypertension and what it does exactly to the body. It's a disease that is affecting many people. Even here in Zambia, we have about 1.5 million people that are affected by this condition. So this week, we're going to talk about hypertensive heart disease. We're going to discuss what are some of the causes of hypertensive heart disease, how does it come about, what is it exactly, and we will discover that hypertensive heart disease has got some symptoms that you need to look out for, and also what are the complications of hypertensive heart disease, and how can you prevent yourself from getting this condition or having this condition. So be sure to watch all the episodes this week on the Breakfast Show. So today we'll discuss what is hypertensive heart disease. Hypertensive heart disease is a condition that occurs in somebody that has hypertension, and this usually happens when the hypertension has been there for a very long time. So when you have a chronic hypertension, or you have hypertension for a very long time, which is usually not controlled, you end up having hypertensive heart disease. And it usually comes about because of what hypertension does to the muscles of the heart. It can cause the muscles of the heart to become larger and bigger in size. And because of this, you find that the heart does not function the way that it's supposed to function. And so you end up having certain symptoms and certain complications that result from this condition. So hypertensive heart disease is affecting many people who have hypertension. And according to the WHO, in Zambia, we have about 1.5 million people who are 18 years and above who have hypertension. And of these 1.5 million people, 1.4 million people do not even have their hypertension under control. Because of this, if the hypertension is not controlled, it can cause hypertensive heart disease. Last week, we talked about hypertension, and we say that hypertension is when you have an elevated blood pressure or an increased blood pressure of 140/90 and above. The 140 is a systolic blood pressure, and the 90 at the bottom is the diastolic blood pressure. For a normal adult, the blood pressure is supposed to be 120/80 and below to about 100/60. So if you have an elevated blood pressure that is increased up to 140/90 and above, and it's not controlled, it goes almost even all the way to 160, 180, then you are at risk of having many complications. Last week we talked about some of the other complications of hypertension, which include things like stroke. You can also have renal conditions resulting from hypertension. So it's important that hypertensive people know what the complications of hypertension are if you do not have the hypertension or the blood pressure under control. It's important for people to control their blood pressure, and if you've been told by your doctors at the hospital, at the clinic, that you have high blood pressure, then you need to adhere to your medications, take your medications every day, so that your blood pressure can be controlled. Because when your blood pressure is not controlled, it leads to so many complications, and one of them is hypertensive heart disease. So tomorrow we'll discuss how does this really come about? What happens to the heart for you to have hypertensive heart disease? Today we're talking about what is hypertensive heart disease, and we say that hypertensive heart disease is a condition that affects the heart when you have elevated blood pressure for a very long time that is not controlled. So you need to be able to learn more about what you can do to prevent yourself from having hypertensive heart disease in the coming episodes on The Breakfast Show. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
There you have it. They say, the best way of checking your blood pressure is to ensure, the best way of checking your blood pressure is to ensure that, you always go to the doctors and just ensure that you're okay and in good health. If you do not, Patrick, indeed, go to the nearest health facility and just check on your blood pressure, you are likely to face certain kind of diseases like kidney failure, heart disease, and stroke. So a lot of people with hypertension, do face that. And several symptoms are dizziness, nausea. So if you're feeling such things, please ensure that you visit your nearest health facility and, have yourself check, to prevent certain diseases.
Yeah, interesting. So that was Dr. Mufaya there on the Health Corner, giving us a perspective pertaining to hypertensive heart disease. I hope you did manage to learn one or two things there on this important discourse. It does affect many people, and like we always say, non-communicable diseases are still affecting Zambia and the globe, and we have to make sure that we are proactive in addressing them. So I hope that that topic of discussion did made a little bit of relevance to you, so that you can know one or two things pertaining to heart disease. We also recommend that in case you have an idea of a topic you want the doctor to discuss, you can do so by reaching to us via the number that come on your screens, as well as on our social media platforms. Remember, we always stream live the breakfast show on our social media platforms, being on Facebook as well as YouTube. You can leave us a message and the doctor will be able to attend to those concerns and questions. Also, ask pertinent questions pertaining to the discussions that we always undertake during the Health Corner. It is important that in case we're not clear, we can help you clarify that also as here on Camnet TV. Now, we also get to another segment, which is the money market, so where we get to understand how the kwacha is performing against other major convertibles. So now, $1 is buying at 17 kwacha for 1 ngwe and selling at 17 kwacha 75 ngwe. The Great British Pound is buying at 22 kwacha 09 ngwe and selling at 22 kwacha 53 ngwe. The Euro is buying at 18 kwacha 98 ngwe and selling at 19 kwacha 36 ngwe. The South African rand is buying at 0.92 ngwe and selling at 0.94 ngwe. So those are your money market as pay finance institution that we monitor as of this morning, being the 3rd of July 2023, 0715. So those are rates we updated this morning, but they do vary from one bureau to the other, or one financial institution to the other. But however, the margins are not that significant. They're just the cents. And we keep recommending that in case you have the dollars, in case you have the kwacha you want to exchange, or you have the euro you want to exchange, this segment helps you to make that decision as you go to the bureau de change, as you go to the bank to exchange your money. And we always emphasize on a strong kwacha because that is vital for our economic development. And we are seeing that the kwacha is within the 17 kwacha range, Miriam. And we were at the 21 at some point, but we just hope that we'll maintain this again, because it is at the end of the day, it makes a difference, especially when it comes to the monthly review of the pump fuel price, because that is also another important issue pertaining to governance, because every time we have changes, it tends to reflect in all sectors of the economy, because fuel is the economic driver.
Exactly. Not only that, also it affects, the price of different commodities. So we hope that, we'll have it maybe at 16 or 15. That's my prayer anyway. Exactly. That's my prayer. But moving forward, we now transition into our first segment where we're looking at trending issues, some of the things that happened over the weekend, and you can take part in our conversation this morning by, leaving us a message on Facebook. Apparently, our phone lines have technical issues, but you can take part in our conversation this morning by dropping us a message on Facebook, because we're streaming live. So some of the stories that we did see, being done over the weekend was, a concern from the residents of Chawama compound, who are saying, the Lusaka City Council lacking seriousness in terms of, maintaining the drainages in that area. And, when it comes rain season, the drainages are blocked. Then the whole area is flooded. So they were just calling on the Lusaka City Council to ensure that, they maintain these drainages, saying that, we're told we should be paying 20 kwacha in view of cleaning, but they are not doing that. Yeah.
That is an interesting story. So we get to look
Exactly. We get to look that story, and we'll continue with our discussion when we come back.
While the actors shields against natural disasters such as flooding, the challenge of maintaining drainages nationwide is rampant. These are residents of Lusaka's Chawama compound who are living in fear that their drainages, especially in Snow White area, are untied. They have bemoaned the non-presence of the city mothers, Lusaka City Council, to carry out their routine cleaning and maintenance of the drainages. The residents explained to this journalist that they have been subjected to paying 20 kwacha each by persons purporting to be Lusaka City Council officials for cleaning, when in fact not. They are wondering why the Lusaka City Council has not come to their rescue to address the situation.
mwana wajaanza kukina kudala baja benze kona nikani bakoli tunanikani ku PF zo kila every weekend bakanso nona apiti sapo. Okay. Twatandize utazako kwati pe wiki bakilinamu pe wiki bakilinamu.
Tima zikilinira teka. Bakanso kulibe pamene bachita kuno kulibe sibabwerako no bwerako. Stiziba na kanso nga iliko nga sima chita exist pa kuno stiziba. Muli doti umolokolela ikabwera ndipo sizafa banamba.
Meanwhile, Area Member of Parliament Tasila Lungu says residents need to cooperate with the council and have a mindset change towards maintaining various structures in the area.
I said, we cannot leave this job 100% to the council. It's the job of the councils to make sure that these communities are clean. But I've been a councillor before, and I sympathize with Lusaka City Council. It's not easy to keep Chawama clean, or any other township in this city of Lusaka. You can go, I'm sure you can go to Kanyama, you'll have the same issues. But anyway, that's not the point to say that Kanyama is also not clean. That's not the point that I'm trying to make, or any other constituency for that fact. I would just like to urge the community of Chawama and the citizens, the residents of Chawama, that we need to keep Chawama clean. It's a very, very tough situation that we have with our residents where they throw garbage anyhow. It's a tough time for Lusaka City Council. And I think instead of condemning and blaming each other, let's come to the table, give each other ideas. We've been cleaning the communities. I know that it's not enough, but it's a tough job to keep that community clean.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News in Lusaka.
Interesting views there. Looking at that story, my concern again is to the residents there. Mm-hmm. How in the first place are the drainages getting dirty? In the first place, those are the concerns now, the questions that people are asking. In the first place, yes, you're calling on Lusaka City Council to ensure that they maintain the drainages to be clean, but in the first place, how are they getting dirty?
Yeah, you're right. Now, again, it is the people themselves who are causing the death. Yeah. Now, there's another interesting aspect, Miriam. It is because of the ill functioning of the local authority that those things are prevalent. Mm-hmm. You can imagine when that woman was explaining, she said they don't even understand whether the council exists or not. So it gets to tell you that there's another relationship that needs to be forged in terms of the community members and the Lusaka City Council. Because at the end of the day, people need to feel the presence of the authority. You understand? And the authority has to continuously engage people. How many times do they engage the people of Chawama regarding in a community hall to discuss issues affecting them, to make them appreciate that poor sanitation has its negative effects, or clogging drainages with plastic pollution can lead to other problems such as flooding. Yeah. We do not explain these things. So sometimes people, okay, I may not even blame, for example, people may be trading there because even people who are passing by, they are just busy throwing dirt in those drainages, Miriam. But now, it's an issue of us working on the mindset. We need to change the mindset, but how do we do that? We need to be proactive, especially. Who is the leader? The leaders in this case are the councils themselves, the councillors. How many times do they hold meetings to make people appreciate what they're doing? So if people are not going to appreciate what you are doing, it will be difficult to compel them to pay for a service because they don't see the need. But if people are able to see the need, they will be able to pay for a service. So again, there's a lot we need to do as a country, especially on the part of local authorities, because under the United Party for National Development Administration, UPND, you have come to understand that focus is on decentralization. And decentralization is a baby of the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. And the councils are the babies of the Ministry of Local Government. They have to make sure that they enforce this agenda. Now, if we need, as we were launching recently a decentralization policy, now it gets to tell us that we need to also move to the next stage to make sure that at the ground there, we should start with mini civic centers. I understand that the process that was started for the development of mini civic centers, but that is the milestone, because the mini civic centers will be performing like the civic center does here in Lusaka, because people now will be going direct to the council officials within the locality, and they will know these officials to say, why are bars opening at 06 hours and not around 10 hours? Why are children being allowed to go in bars when they are underage? Why are we not cleaning up the markets? Why are the people trading outside the markets and not in the markets? It will be easier to answer those challenges, because those challenges are imminent in those communities, Miriam. Now, the issue of drainages. Now, we also saw that they have embarked on the process of cleaning the drainages in Chawama, but they are cleaning up the drainages not thoroughly. You discover that before the onset of the rain season, those things they are removing, they are getting back into the drain, and we have the same problems. There's the same issue in almost all the communities. So I don't know really what we need to do about this.
And the funny part is that people have this mindset, because we are paying a certain fee to council, so we're going to leave this dirty or a heap of garbage just here. Council come and collect. There's a certain way that council, like you had put it, should engage the community and tell them, you know what, in order to safeguard our environment, this is how you should keep your garbage before council comes and collects. You just don't throw it anyhow. And also, I would like to maybe appeal to the Member of Parliament there, Tasida Lungu, who said, it's again on the people. I think this is the high time that she should, engage her people more often and just do this community sensitization.
So now, who's supposed to drive the agenda? Should people just wake up and say, Honorable, let's do this? No, the opposite is true. Because the Member of Parliament there has to say, no, we are sitting down, we are going to engage the people, the community. For example, me, I live in this community in Chawama, Miriam. I've never attended any community meeting because they don't call them. And if they are calling these meetings, most of the time, sometimes, they would call them in partisan lines. But, when it's a civic duty, everyone must be involved. Even the issue of keeping the city clean. I remember that they launched the monthly cleaning exercise that was supposed to be taking place in every community. But do they do that? The answer is no. We do not do the
we're only seeing that happening in town.
In town once, and when they forget, they don't even undertake that cleaning exercise. But we have to be doing that constantly, and even it has to be even on a weekly basis, and make sure that people are doing that at their own will. Everyone else should participate in cleaning. That's the only way we'll keep our city clean. Otherwise, if we are not seeing the need to keep the city clean, it will be even difficult for us to participate in community cleaning if you cannot even keep your surroundings your residence clean. How do you expect to clean the city?
Waiting for council to come and do the cleaning. But anyway, that is one of the stories that we had in our Zooming headlines. Some of the other stories we saw was, residents of Mungu area in Kafua district complaining over the lack of water, which is forcing them to travel long distance in search of the commodity. So the residents were appealing to the civic leaders there to construct a borehole in the area to address these challenges. Anyway, let's get a look at that story.
Water is at the core of sustainable development and is critical for socio-economic development, energy and food production, health ecosystem, and for human survival. According to the Sustainable Development Goal number 6, clean water and sanitation by the year 2030 is far from being a reality in Zambia, as most rural parts of the country still have no access to clean water. Mungu area in Kafua district is one such area which has no clean drinking water, forcing residents in this area to walk long distances in search of the commodity. The residents here now want the Kafua District Council to consider allocating some resources under the constituency development funds to bring water to the area.
Manzi yakumwa tivutika mwandi bazoona tapa manzi mumulonga na mamena kambira paja seke dango tulipeleka ripoti kwa tandizira kulipe sati tandizira we na kliniki yatu ija makomboka pena kukaenda kuja upeza ati monga sande ve sande sasa wenzera atu pa kliniki patu paja pa Mungu pa sande siwa sewenza
nani watu aba ota ene tuwale so yesa ko ni Friday no isa ni yesa ko pa Tuesday for fin.
And Kafua Council Chairperson Bumba Malambo, when contacted, says most parts of Kafue have been experiencing water challenges and says our office is working tirelessly to resolve the matter and ensure that all the rural parts have clean drinking water.
It's a challenge of water in Kafue, but we are trying our best as a council and also in partnership with Lusaka Water and in partnership with the Ministry of Water and Sanitation to ensure that not just Shikoswe and other areas are piped, but the people of Kalundu also who are buying water at the moment. And yet the big pipe passes in their area. So we've been trying to engage the ministry to say, as the people of Lusaka are accessing our water, please, even the people where the pipes are passing, let them also have access to water. Plans for water in the rural areas, it's in the CDF we have a lot of boreholes. Even in the council budget we have a lot of boreholes, because obviously piped water that side it requires the ministry itself to come in on board and do one or two things in terms of supplying piped water. But as a council, we have in our budget some boreholes.
More still needs to be done if Zambia is to really attain its vision of becoming a middle prosperous income country by the year 2030. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Quite interesting. We hope that their concern will be adequately and urgently addressed. You know, the issue of water is ever serious.
Yeah,
it's ever serious, and it needs the necessary attention that it deserves. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Water is life. That's a cliche, but it's a very powerful cliche.
Yeah.
So, because everything that we need at the end of the day revolves around us
water.
having water, because we use water for drinking, cooking, bathing, almost everything that you need. The industries cannot function without water, so it's quite an important catalyst to everything that we do, and we need to make sure that it is readily accessible. You know, sometimes I tend to see a lot of inequalities in cities like Lusaka. You'd see people feeding the glasses water when people are sharing that with animals in some areas.
Like one example I'd give, the time I was in Shangobo district, you know, I discovered that there are certain areas where there's no water and people are sharing that water with animals, cows. Yeah. It's quite sad, very, very sad. And that's one of the issues that, you know, we need to sit down with their civic leaders.
I haven't seen that story yet.
You are going to definitely see it. You're definitely, it's one story that I've been, you know, cooking up in the background and just trying to build from it. Exactly. Cooking in the background, but you definitely see it because I'm trying to, you know, to talk to various people so that, you know, I can get different views and stakeholders on board. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you too, our dear viewers, in case you want to join the conversation, we aren't able to get the phone calls this morning, but you can leave us a message. We'll be able to read it. And you can also leave us a text message via the numbers that are on your screens. We'll be able to attend to it in case you want to join the conversation. And we're zooming in a story pertaining to water and the water sector there. The issues pertaining to sustainable development, goal number 6. That's 6 to ensure that there is inclusive access to safe drinking water for all. Is under threat there because we continuously see that the provision of this important commodity is still an issue. And there in that story in the Shikoswe area of Kafue district, people are still complaining. It's not just that area. Various localities continue to face this problem of inadequate access to water supply and sanitation services. So now another interesting story we have is a story where we look at some Lusaka residents involved in metal fabrication and welding have lamented that following the adjustment of electricity tariffs by ZESCO, their business have gone down. They explained to Camnet News that consideration during the adjustment of electricity for the 2023 to 2027 should have been given to business that rely on electricity on their operations. Meanwhile, Zambia Association of Manufacturers President Ashu Saga wonders why the burden of ZESCO's inefficiency has been transferred to the manufacturers. Here is a report.
On April 21st, 2023, the Energy Regulation Board approved the adjustment of electricity tariffs for the year 2023 to 2027. According to the ERB, the adjustment in tariffs is necessary to ensure ZESCO continues to operate in a financially sustainable manner. The board's review suggests that the power utility has been struggling to make ends meet, and adjusting the tariffs will help to close the gap between its costs and revenues. On the other hand, for many households, the adjustment means a real increase in their monthly electricity bills. But what is the impact on businesses that rely on electricity? These are metal fabricators who have expressed mixed feelings about the adjustment.
So profit fixed. Monga saluni, welding, chani. But they put it otherwise, profit in own. Tifutika, in short. I'll be for seven such a big tiri muziko guys.
Watu wa benefit sana kulipe yako benefit wa like my superior was said tukatupa sehemu refu kulipe vinachinda kwa tobacco but ilipa sehemu refu
boss maraiti production tukalipa sehemu refu otherwise change in still.
Meanwhile, the Zambia Association of Manufacturers President Ashu Saga argues that in the long term, the tariff adjustment could help to improve the efficiency of the electricity sector, but says the tariff adjustment is a short-term solution to a long-term problem and wonders why manufacturers have to pay the price of ZESCO's inefficiencies.
Electricity tariffs do affect us, right? And the fact that we're increasing the electricity tariffs is going to affect us. But it also, we need to grow and we need to have a balance between the manufacturing sector and the suppliers of electricity. How do you encourage investment in the electrical sector? Yes, there has to be a possible adjustment to the tariff, but maybe not to the extent that we've had. On the other side, is ZESCO efficient? Why should manufacturing sector pay for inefficiencies in ZESCO, for example, if they're there? And the cost of service study has asked for these things to be addressed. So when we look at increasing a tariff, we must also look at reducing costs of the service provider. Now, if that is addressed publicly and transparently, manufacturers, I don't think, will have a problem. If we are going to encourage new investment in energy, yes, we are aware that there has to be some adjustment in the tariff, but not maybe to the extent we're having.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
There you have it. That's an interesting story there coming from the manufacturing sector, and we saw there the welders also complaining about the high cost of production, in that sometimes business tend to be hard because they have to transfer the burden to the consumers, and that makes it difficult for them to operate at an efficient level like they were, and as this electricity tariff will continue to increase up to the year 2027, and just what ZESCO adjusted previously is just a part of the entire process of what they want to do, and that's migrating to cost-effective tariffs. But while that journey, we are undertaking that journey as a country, we have to bear in mind that the cost of production is going to be pushed upwards, and that is not good for the economy. And that, just like the manufacturing sector was suggesting there, the Mr. Ashu Saga, who is the Zambia Association of Manufacturers president, explaining that the burden of inefficiencies that ZESCO has are always transferred to the consumers, which he feels is not a good idea altogether. You too, our dear viewers, in case you want to give us your perspective on this story, you can do so and leave us a message on our Facebook platform or send us a text message. We'll be able to read it out here on the Camnet Breakfast Show. Now, interesting enough is that others have suggested, like I remember I was interviewing the president for the Green Party, Miriam, Mr. Peter Sinkam. he was explaining that one of the ways in which we can address the cost of electricity is just about ramping up production. If we are able to produce more, then it means that we are able to export more. Then the surplus is what you are feeding the country. So you'll be able to sell to the outside, to the region and beyond at an exorbitant price. Then you are able to cushion so that you can subsidize your local population, as opposed to us and now the people paying the burden, and that has not been sustainable because each government that takes over office tends to work on to temper with the electricity tariffs. But already the electricity tariffs haven't been good enough for many vulnerable households, and when you continue to increase, then you are pushing them out. We are sending them into poverty. Now, we are also undermining the rural electrification agenda in that we're supposed to increase rural electrification beyond the current 8%. But how do we do that? For example, if the cost of electricity is going to be expensive. The other argument has also been the fact that how do we address the issues pertaining to deforestation, considering that the environment is equally affected in this whole issue, because cities like Lusaka have to highly depend on charcoal for cooking and heating purposes. Now, this tends to also burden the issue, the green agenda, because we see now that deforestation becomes high, because already Zambia annually loses about 250 to 300,000 hectares of forests annually due to deforestation now. But if you are going to add that, if you are going to take unsustainable measures, what does that mean? It means that we are going to further burden our forests.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a huge figure. But and just advocating for the need to plant more trees. I don't know how far we can go with that agenda, but if we're going to be losing such a huge hectares of forest like that, that's so much.
Yeah, so sometimes again the trees, they don't even grow overnight, so they take time. So, but at the time we are depleting our forests.
But it's good that we start now, we start planting now, so that we avoid a calamity that we're going to face in the near future.
The calamity we're already facing them. If you look at the adverse effects of climate change as a result of unsustainable human activities, such as deforestation. One is that, for example, Zambia has experienced the heat waves. You were in Shangombo, they were telling you that you had dry spells there. Here in Lusaka, we had floods. Even in Shangombo, before dry spells, we had flash floods. So if you see, these weather variation tends to tell you that there's something wrong with our pattern, but it's about how unsustainable we have been as a country. So now, we are talking about adaptation measures. So the plantation of trees is part of the adaptation measures. But we are also looking at issues pertaining to mitigation. How do we mitigate? We have to be proactive. Are we finding alternatives to charcoal? If we are finding alternatives to charcoal, what are they? How affordable are they? How convenient are they? How accessible are they? So if we're going to be answering that, then we'll be solving this issue pertaining to charcoal and also deforestation.
Exactly. And what are some of the stories that we are remaining with on the Zooming In headlines?
Another interesting story is where youths in Kawe's Wacha constituency have passed a vote over no confidence against their area member of parliament, Sydney Mushanga. The youths say the area member of parliament in the past 2 years has been a letdown, accusing him of being an absentee parliamentarian. Meanwhile, addressing the aggrieved youths, Kawe's Central Member of Parliament, Crozesta Puri, has assured that the government will always prioritize and take a keen interest on issues that affect them regardless of their political affiliation. The lawmaker further encouraged the aggrieved youths to partner with the current government in fostering development in their respective constituencies. So let's get to look at this We'll be back on the Camnet Breakfast Show. Keep it on Camnet.
youth that you are seeing behind me, they are passing a vote of no confidence in you because you have no capacity anymore, and that you are just there to enrich yourself. Leadership pambala pakulira yo. As you see, our youth abata bakwete shanchito tabakwete rani CTF yari ba increase tapala fare mu constituency yenu. Eko abantu nabakano kwiba lero cyo baranda cyakutira ati pave way for new legs, for fresh legs that will take water to another level. We want to appreciate you for what you have done, but not anymore. Therefore, in the name of Jesus, go!
You are the children of UPNG Chairman Sonima Musepela. So, decision of Mlepanga, Kulila Kwenu, the government always have an. Whether Mutimuliku, who constituents could opposition member of parliament, but the government you want to sit with your member with the parapene, Ale Posa Kwamano Kumisepela. Never namayo. Definitely nine. That's why if you look at Zambia this time, Taisala government could pay the same amount of money. But what we want is the people to make sure that you access development, you access health.
Wow, interesting story pertaining to the political sector. They are in Cow, where youths are demanding the resignation of the area member of parliament. That they're accusing him of being an absentee parliamentarian.
Those allegations were yet to get his side of the story.
I remember these stories when we used to do them. Those stories were said, these are sponsored youths. You remember when we
and someone would want to argue that they're sponsored youths.
They're sponsored. Why are they?
But anyway, that's a story for another day. Anyway, that's a story for another day. We'll shortly be joined by Daniel Mwimbe, the United Healthy and Allied Workers Union of Zambia president, and we'll be talking about challenges affecting the healthy sector vis-a-vis the proposed recruitment of 300,000 health workers in 2023. 3,000 rather health workers in 2023. But right about now, we are going to play a story done by one of our colleague, Prudence Chota, where she interviewed the area member of parliament, Kawata area member of parliament, Andrew Tayangwa, who was condemning the Lusaka City Council for issuing trading license on a land owned by another person who has legitimate titles issued by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources in Lubamba Market. Quite interesting. Anyway, let's get into playing the story, and we'll be transitioning into our first segment where we're going to be joined by Mr. Daniel Mwimbe and, discussing various issues pertaining to the challenges affecting the health sector in Zambia.
Piece of land at this part of Lubamba Market in Lusaka, behind Big Moses shops in Kamwala, has continued to attract the attention of members of the general public after these shop owners were told to vacate the land and have their shops demolished, as it is believed that the shops were built on land whose title is held by a suspected foreign national. These over 300 traders have vowed that they will not leave the place as the Lusaka City Council issued them with trading licenses. But area member of parliament Andrew Tayangwa has condemned the Lusaka City Council for issuing trading permits on a titled land and says his office has hands tied on the matter.
You see, the seed piece of land where these traders are actually claiming that it belongs to them, it was actually given in 2014. That's when the title deed was issued. And if you have the history of that trading place, you understand that most of those guys who are occupying the place, most of them, they got their offer letters in 2018. And basically, I even have issues with the council why they would have to actually go ahead and issue an offer letter on top of the title deed. It doesn't actually make any sense. for somebody just to come and issue an offer letter on top of a title.
He adds that the matter has also been reported to the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, who have also agreed that the shops be demolished.
I did actually engage the Minister of Local Government, who actually said that the issue of those marketeers, if they do not have any documentation to prove that that land belongs to them, then definitely the law has to take its own course. And Lusaka City Council, I'm sure they should be moving on site. The land in question belongs to somebody who obtained title.
Land allocation seems to continue being a problem in the country, and those tasked with the responsibility to issue licenses, such as the local authority and the Ministry of Lands, seem not to be coordinating in the manner in which they issue licenses, hence contributing to many land wrangles. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
On Monday, 3rd July 2023, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba with his guests, Mr. Brebda Changala, political activist.
We are not swimming ashore. If we are not careful, we might sink.
And Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba.
So it's a serious matter of worry.
As they discuss concerns of human rights in Zambia.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Get all the latest updates in court news only on Camnet TV. We take you and make you feel part of the court sessions through our in-depth coverage of the adjudication process. Get informed on those who have been arrested, delayed and denied the police bond or bail victims, persons taking plea, court adjournments, verdicts, and those administration issues in the judiciary. Camnet TV is on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and find us on channel 106 on Topstar. You can also follow and give us a like on our social media platforms. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Before we went on a break, I did announce earlier that we'll be joined in studio by Daniel Mwimbe, the United Healthy and Allied Workers Union of Zambia president, who's going to help us discuss the challenges affecting the healthy sector in Zambia. Good morning and welcome to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show.
Good morning and good morning, Sato.
Good morning.
We are glad to have you on set this morning.
Yeah, it's good to come back here. You know, it's been long.
Yeah, indeed, it has been long.
Yeah, it's important that we at least once in a while appear like this.
To begin with, maybe just for our viewers' sake, maybe what is the United Healthy and Allied Workers Union of Zambia all about?
Well, I must mention that United Health and Allied Workers Union of Zambia is not a new union as such, as it is just a merger of a number of unions from the health sector. You may recall that we had Biomedical Union of Zambia. When I appeared here, I think I was President Biomedical Union of Zambia. But then we had to sit and look at means and ways of representing members better. But I think that's what motivated us to bring together all the unions, those unions that were interested in the health sector, to put them as one, because being segmented, we were having too many unions in the health sector. Almost every profession wanted to have a union, and we thought it would be better to come together and form one united front. That's how we came up with this union. And we were supported. We had consultants coming in to support the idea. I think this idea had already started with the teaching unions, the teacher unions. But unfortunately, I think there had been issues to agree on leadership, which we hope they are going to resolve. But for us, we didn't have any issues to agree on in terms of leadership. We had to compromise where a compromise needed to be. All we needed was to bring in a force that can represent members better. And that's where we are. It is a union in the health sector. And currently we are looking at a very good membership, unlike the way we were in terms of specific unions where we had only maybe less than 1,000. Some were having less than 1,000 members, but now we are talking about members from all these unions coming together. We have over 8,000 members, which has given us enough power and a force to represent these members better.
Now, if you talk about you have over 8,000 members, that tells me to say some people in the health sector have options to stay away from the union.
Yeah,
is that the case?
Yeah, you are right that if you look at the health sector, we still have quite a number of unions. Yeah, you may wish to understand that the health sector being having these different disciplines that we have, almost every profession has, wanted to have a union, and right now we have about 5 unions that are still there. We are talking about Zuno, we are talking about health workers itself, we are talking about Zanua. So we already have all these unions where health workers can belong. And I must mention here that right now there are very few health workers that don't have a union. Almost every single practitioner has a union somewhere. Some are belonging to other unions like Civil Servants and Allied Workers Union of Zambia. But with the numbers that we have, it shows that we are moving in the right direction. I must mention that the union only started having members in February. We only started recruiting in February. And I mentioned that we were having less than 1,000 when we had Biomedical Union of Zambia. But with just a few months, we have seen a very good increment in terms of membership, because we've been out there on the ground. We have recruited. For us to even go above 8,000, that is quite significant, because now we are standing like the second biggest union in the health sector. When you look at health sector unions only, we are the second biggest that we should mention now.
Before we get to other nitty-gritties of our topic of discussion, I want us to exhaust these issues pertaining to unionism. First of all, why should people in the 21st century see the need to belong to the union, considering that we have seen that people just feel that sometimes you just buy T-shirts during the Labor Day, and that's the only time. Is there creativity that unions are coming up with to make sure that workers feel the need to belong, apart from negotiating on their behalf during the collective bargaining process?
I love those. I actually love the questions that have come, and I must mention that unionism, first from inception, you must understand that by law, one has to belong to a union at some point, because it is the labor movement that looks at the protection of rights and interests of the worker. If you leave the worker alone with the employer, I can assure you there will be a lot of blunders. That's why the law saw it fit to bring in a trade union, so that this is now a worker who is allowed to speak to the employer freely through this body we call the trade union. So that is from inception, and that's why even now the core purpose of unionism has not changed, because we are still looking at what are the rights that workers have. Do workers have the right to speak out when they are affected? So how do they speak out? That's why the law now molds it to bring in a trade union, so that this is the body that should, because we can't have all workers going to face the employer, so there should be some body that should carry the message and speak out to the employer. I know that there has been issues of compromise in the trade union itself, where we have workers complaining that they are not represented well, because sometimes they feel we get brown envelopes, which for me, I would assure you that I've never seen that brown envelope. If I saw one, then I don't think I've even heard of anything like that from the time I became a unionist. But when you talk about innovation, I think if you talk about T-shirts and all this, that like now we are going through land, people are buying, unions are buying land to try and ensure that workers at least are motivated and they are kept well. these are simply innovations that unions now are entering into to say it's not only bargaining, because what comes out of bargaining has not satisfied our members. And that's why we need to look outside the box. It's not just every time sitting, we are here to bargain and then you get 10% and you feel your members are happy. We need now to look at what are other means that would actually support our members, because they pay a lot of funds to these unions and they need these funds to work for them. And that's why if you look at the activities that unions have lined up, we have the key activity is worker education. We always have to conduct worker education to sensitize our members to understand what they are supposed to do, what the do's and don'ts in terms of their employment are. That comes at a cost. We have to organize that. And also, you mentioned t-shirts. Of course, those are just a plus to say, we have to give you this for you to know that I actually belong to this union. It's not really that that t-shirt is what somebody pays for. No, it is just meant to show that they belong to this union. It's just a uniform after all, to say they belong to this union. But we are trying to now go into various activities. Like I said, many unions now, even ourselves, we are now going to buying land, try to motivate our members to build structures. We are offering very simple loans where people can at least find it easy. Instead of going to banks, they can easily get to trade unions and get their money, because that's their money. I must mention that as a union, United Health and Allied Workers Union of Zambia, we have some package that we have put forward where we are saying, if you look at the Bank of Zambia monetary policies that keep changing, every time you have an increment, and the banks have now to lengthen either the period of their loans for these members, or sometimes increase the amount that they'll be paying. So we are saying we can pay off that loan, so that then that member is not made to suffocate himself or herself. But when we buy that loan, we then restructure it within ourselves at 5%. If somebody was paying 24%, for instance, we bring it at 5%, it becomes easier for them to pay. But at least we would have avoided them going forever paying for these loans. So these are simply certain innovations that unions are trying to put in place, so that the members feel a little bit taken care of. We know that we cannot satisfy a member full time, but we are trying to make sure that at least we give them what they are supposed to get. They deserve all this.
Interesting. We have seen since the ushering, just at the first beginning, the ushering of the United Party for National Development Administration, we saw them recruiting 11,000 health workers. But despite that, we have continued seeing various challenges affecting the health sector. Are we doing enough as a country in order, to tackle these issues?
First and foremost, I think when we were here, even before, we did commend our government for having recruited so many health workers, because this is the first time we are seeing a good number of health workers being recruited, and that cannot go without commending government. And we'll continue to actually emphasize that we need more workers, and we are happy that even in the 2023 budget, there was that allocation that we needed to recruit about 3,000 health workers, which is another good thing that we should mention here, that government has remained committed to ensure that the health sector is given the support. But of course, like you mentioned, there has been challenges, especially to do with the supplies, medical supplies. We can have the workforce. The laborers are there, but we need also to give them tools to use. And this is one thing that we have continued trying to call on government to see how they improve. And for us, our understanding has been that the transition itself, I think when we talk about medical supplies, the transition itself from MSL, I think you remember that we transitioned from MSL to ZAMSA, was kind of, much as it was a good thing, but we were not yet prepared Because if you look at the board that was put in, we all called on the board to improve here and there. But I think the responsibilities that they were being given, they were not ready to tackle some of them. You talk of when we had MSL, we only had the storage and distribution. That was the function of MSL. They were simply storing and distributing. But now we have ZAMSA with an added function of procurement. So they needed now the team that should be competent in terms of procurement. A team that was well capacitated in terms of procuring these drugs. But all these things have delayed because there hasn't been any competence in that area of procurement. And I think the chairperson was on media saying they are almost ready with the procurement system. And we are happy that they agreed, because these are some of the things that we mentioned, that there was a lot of incompetence in the board. But we are happy that they agreed that there was a challenge in terms of procurement. They needed a lot of capacity because before then, Minister of Health was doing the procurement. And when the new government came in, I think we saw that there was an audit, and they found a lot of issues to do with procurement, where a number of officers were even removed from Minister of Health to make sure that they cleaned that department, which was a good thing. But then to bring in a competent team that should have now helped us to do the procurement, that's where there has been a challenge. And we hope that with the promise that the board has given, that before December, but for us we feel December is even too long, we wish they can quicken the steps in terms of procurement. We have seen that they have started bringing in a few kits here and there, but we wish that they can do more, because I was last week in Mbala, and I can tell you it's a sorry sight. We don't have these commodities. And all we need is the board to be up and running, to give us that confidence and make sure that these things are put in place. Yes, those are some of the challenges that we have seen, and we will not forget to talk about them. We'll continue calling on the systems, because Minister of Health now is not doing the procurement. And I think you have seen that, you have followed this news, that Minister of Finance has been using funds. They have confirmed that funds are there. They are simply seated. So what is it that they are waiting for? Because they should have been doing the procurement. So if it is the procurement that doesn't have the competence, they need to quicken the steps of giving the competence in the procurement system. That is what we would mention on that challenge. But of course, like you mentioned, we still need to lobby for more workers to be employed, and we hope that even 2024, when we'll be allocating the budget, we need more health workers to be put there, because in some areas we still have shortages, a lot of shortages of health workers. So we need to reach an extent where we reduce the burden in terms of the ratio of a health worker and a patient. That is the only time we can be confident that we have that.
All right.
Interesting. Now, so now talking about the current recruitments that will be done,
which has delayed.
Yeah. Now, what should we focus on in terms of making sure that we employ the right personnel, and also ensuring that the recruitment also is transparent? Because issues pertaining to transparency in the past were also an issue. But we are happy that this administration, though, is been transparent in terms of announcing. But though, like for example, when it comes to the defense, others would argue to say, this is not the actual list. Why is someone having 3 NRCs allocated one person? And even previously, we had seen the same situation. But also, how can we ensure that we do the right things to ensure that we give the process the credibility that it deserves?
I think from the health sector, we have seen a different face, different from the defense. Of course, those are critical areas. We didn't talk about them, because defense and all this, we know how many people want to dive into those areas. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the health sector, where even the teaching sector, you discover that there we are focusing on a practitioner who is well trained, who is qualified. In the defense, maybe a grade 12 can have a certificate, and all they need is to go and run, and show that potential. And that's why there, even when you talk about issues of somebody being having a lot of, it is common there. It can happen, but we expect that a different face should be in the health sector. And I think we saw that in the previous recruitment, that much as there were a lot of delays, like we have delayed now, we should mention, there were a lot of delays, and also insinuations that, people were being placed on the list. There were all those insinuations, but I think the idea by the ministry to decentralize the recruitment, much as we criticized it, I should mention that we were one of the unions that criticized the decentralization. It worked out to be good because then these districts were focusing on the people that are around the districts, and even when you recruit people from there, it is easier for them not to get transfers to come back to Lusaka because they are coming from those local areas, they are coming from those districts, and that's why we feel even going forward we need to embrace this decentralization and also maybe just understand what might have been the shortfalls from our previous recruitment. For us, that is the lesson that we should pick, and we hope that the ministry is going to pick those lessons to say what were the challenges that they faced in the recruitment, in the previous recruitment, how can they strengthen those challenges. And we are very hopeful that even this recruitment that they are talking about, though they keep telling us there will be recruitment, and it continues to delay, because we hope that by April we should have at least had a good roadmap on when the recruitment will be done. But we have seen that there has been delays, and our call on the ministry is to come out clear on the roadmap. Is it that the funds that were allocated to recruit the 2023, to give us the 2023 recruitment, have gone somewhere else? They need to come out and just clear that air, because that was already budgeted for. I know that there has been some rumor that they will be doing that recruitment, and our hope is that the same way they gave a roadmap last time, they gave us the picture. They are taking this to districts. They are going to handle it like this. That is the roadmap that we need even now. If the minister or the PS can give us that roadmap, so that we understand what they are doing. And we need to appeal again that the same way we did the 2022 recruitment is how we should handle the 2023, where we made sure that every discipline was considered. Even just, we are talking about 3,000 numbers, which is a very little number. But even just some little numbers given to each profession is very important, because all these disciplines are critical on the ground. We are the only sector that looks at different disciplines looking at one thing, one human being, one patient. So without the competence of the other, you cannot handle. The other competence can't handle. So we need all these competences to be put together. And that's why we need to appeal to the ministry that the same way they did the previous recruitment, where we saw good numbers of almost every profession. We know that there are others that complained. Yes, the numbers were not matching what their expectations were, but at least we saw that attachment. It has never happened before. We saw that in the previous government they could recruit maybe 100, all of them are nurses, or all of them are doctors. So this time around we saw a different face, where government said at every level of practice we need to put the competence that is right, and that is what we loved from the recruitment that we saw. We hope that going forward, this is how we are going to be handling the recruitment. You are not going to say nutrition is not important, because that competence, if you miss it, you end up having a patient who will be malnourished. And at the end of the day, that patient, you are curing this, but because of malnutrition, they end up dying. So you need that competence. We need a biomedical practitioner. We need a pharmacist. We need all these competences put together. So that is our appeal that we are making to the ministry, that the same way they handled the 2022 recruitment, let's make sure that we handle the 2023 recruitment in the similar manner.
Interesting. Well, our dear viewers, you are watching the Camnet Breakfast Show with me, Patrick Soko, and Miriam Kaemba. And in studio, we have Mr. Daniel Mwimbe. He is coming from the United Health and Allied Workers Union of Zambia. We are discussing various issues pertaining to the health sector. In case you want to join the conversation, you can leave us a message. We'll be able to run through it all and read it out here on the Breakfast Show. Now, we are unable to get your phone calls this morning. This is due to our technical circumstances that are beyond our control, but that will be rectified. I'm sure tomorrow we'll be able to get interacting with you, our dear viewers, because we do value your views and contributions on the Camnet Breakfast Show. Now, to proceed further now, I want to ask another question to Mr. Mwimbe. And that's in line with issues pertaining to... We just recently, when Prudence Chota was in the company of Zamla, they were also still expressing concern that some health workers are still in the habit of pilfering or stealing medicine. And that claim has always been there with us. And what would be your word on that as a union leader?
And just in addition to that, you will find that you go to a nearby health facility, you're told, okay, there's no this medicine, but you're supposed to find it at the hospital. And then the doctor there will give you direction of a specific pharmacy that you need to visit and purchase that medicine.
Well, I must agree that we have those issues happening, but you may also understand that at some point, I must mention that many times, as workers, we have been accused and victimized that we are the ones that are taking away these commodities. Yeah, we have some, like I've said, I've agreed that we have a few instances where some even have been arrested. We have on record some of our members who have been arrested due to these same issues where somebody, like you heard, I can't mention it publicly, but you have heard just recent issues that came from should be Chipata, level 1. Where somebody even packed in their house a lot of commodities. Whereas the hospital doesn't have them, they have packed all this in their house. And of course, they were arrested. We hope that those issues will be being handled by the ministry, because they are the custodians of those issues. And as a union, we need to put it on record that we don't support such characters and such activities. Yes, our role is to ensure that we protect the interests and the rights of our members, but we would protect the interests and rights of our workers in a right way and not in the wrong way. Our job is to ensure that the workers, the members that we have, are doing the right thing, and out of the right thing, they are being rewarded for the right thing that they are doing. They are taken care of for the right things that they are doing. They are obeying, they are following the rules and guidelines that are laid down, not to step out and then start doing the wrong thing and think that the union is going to come there and protect us. And I think that has been the motive, the thought in some of these. They'll come and call you to say, no, I've been arrested and that, and you are the union to I must say that is not how the union works. The union is there to protect you, yes, at the workplace, to ensure that your safety and all these rights are being respected, but not to protect you in a wrong way when you start doing the wrong thing. Yes, I must agree that we have those few instances that have been reported, and we don't condone such as a union. We want to appeal to our members that they need to stay in the good lane that they are supposed to be in. But also to mention that most of the times, as workers, we are accused. Yeah, that we are the ones that are taking away these things. But we have all mentioned here that most of these things are not there. You find that somebody is being accused of taking away these things, taken to their drug stores. When you go to the villages, do we have these drug stores? We don't have them. But these commodities are not there. So in these areas, who is taking away these commodities? So you discover that all we need is, yes, we need to up the game and ensure that these stocks are available. But we also want to accept and also probably promise our comrades, especially Minister of Health, that they have lamented that even if we are going to stop to put all these stocks, how do we protect them? I think we had the chairperson from Zambia lamenting, saying these commodities can be available. In some of the areas we have them available, but how do we protect them from different? Because we have some members, like they mentioned, like we have just mentioned that case, where this person puts stocks, has put stock in the house, and it's not like little stock. It's a lot of stock that has been put there. A lot of machinery has been put there. Now, how do we protect these commodities from such activities or such criminal elements that may be there? And that's where even ourselves as trade unions, I mentioned here worker education. It is very important for us to continue engaging our members, because that is one key area that we have to continue engaging our members, emphasizing on the do's and don'ts. That's why we educate them about the labor laws, what their requirements, especially talk about the disciplinary code, we talk about the code of ethics, because that is their Bible. The code of ethics is their Bible at work, to ensure that they understand what they must do, what they must not do. Because the moment you jump out of that code of ethics, you find yourself in the disciplinary code, or even beyond the disciplinary code. Some of them find themselves being dealt with the penal code, because this criminal, if you have the criminal element, then definitely you end up being arrested, being taken to prison, because you are not immune. Just because you are a worker, you are not immune from such prosecution. So we need just to emphasize that it is also our role as unions to continue engaging our members, doing worker education, emphasizing on the do's and don'ts, especially on the code of ethics, how they must handle themselves at work, because professionalism is one of them in the code of ethics. So how professional are you if you are going to be stealing things from your own workplace? And I think it's only in some areas where we have seen that such things have continued to happen. When you go to areas like UTH, I must mention that UTH is one of the hospitals that I've seen. I've worked there for quite some time, and I've seen that much as people talk about other standards, no, UTH has these standards, but in terms of professionalism, taking away things out of the hospital, I have not seen that. Actually, somebody would rather bring something from outside to say, UTH, we have this, can you use it? A worker would do that, and that is something that we have to commend.
Yes, but in these communities, Mr. Mwimbe, we have a different scenario altogether. I will give you, sometimes they look at faces. So they will sometimes when you reach at the count at the where they dispense medicine.
Exactly.
So when you go there, they will look at you and say, there is no this medicine you have to buy. Then you sit down, you are observing someone the same medicine they tell you to go and buy. They are giving that person. Then you tend to want to say, but how equal is this process?
Yeah, exactly, and that is very unfortunate. We should mention that, because in terms of health, we are all supposed to be treated equally, and a patient is a patient, regardless of how they look, whether they look like they have money, is a patient. So at the end of the day, when these commodities are available, we have to dispense to them. And that is the appeal that we should make to all our members out there, especially when it comes to drugs. You know that this is the last stage. Somebody needs, you know, they have been seen all this side, the doctor has seen them, the lab has checked them, and it is now the duty of a pharmacist at the end of the day to dispense the drug and ensure that this person gets better to the status that they were. But if we are going to start discriminating, who we should give this, who we should not give this, and then we have in mind which pharmacy they should buy from. And I think that is very unfortunate. And we should appeal, and for us, we need to mention that we have even told the minister and her people that we are ready to partner, all of us. That's why we are called partners of Ministry of Health, to partner, to ensure that if at all there are all these elements that are happening, all this, of course, we can't say if they are there, they are happening. We should agree. We should come on board, all of us, and see to it that at least we work out better modalities to make sure that our people are getting these commodities. And we hope that at some point when government has helped us stop these hospitals, these things should stop, because there shouldn't be the need for somebody to run to a pharmacy when we have these commodities. We need to ensure that we give these commodities to our patients.
Now we have seen the government seeks to provide equitable access to cost-effective, quality, healthy services as close to the family as possible. But when you talk about quality, healthy services, we have seen in rural areas where you find modern structures of the health facility are different compared to here in the urban areas. You'll find that, for example, at UTH you'll find flashable toilets. But if you go to maybe Shangombo or Chubombo, I don't know, Dudumwezi, you'll find that there are pit latrines there. Do you think there's equitable in terms of distribution of these resources?
I think I must mention that we are still a step behind in terms of reaching that stage where we can have equal access to healthcare services as close to the people as possible. But I think the agenda of government has been there. There's that commitment. We can see that at least if you go to most of the rural areas now, we have when we say a clinic, you can see the face itself that, okay, this should be a clinic. At least there has been that commitment from government to try and ensure that we transform the face of the health sector. But of course, we want to say there's need to do a lot to improve the health status, the status of the health sector itself in terms of decentralizing the services. But at least in terms of manpower, you have seen that at least workforce has been decentralized, especially with the new government. We have seen that manpower has now been decentralized. We are now having, even at a health post, we have at least somebody qualified seated there working, trying to take care of the health of our people. But in terms of infrastructure, that's where we need to appeal that there is need for a lot of investment in the infrastructure. It's not only the health. I think you have seen it's not only the health sector. I think you have seen most of the sectors, even the education. You look at all these areas. There is need to invest so much in the infrastructure. Some of our workers, when you visit them in these areas, you look at the housing itself, the housing units that they are staying in. You would feel sorry for them, and one day when one goes to, like you have mentioned, goes to the pit latrine, and then we hear that our member or our health our office has gone into the toilet, then it will be a sorry thing, and we need to mention that there is need to invest in the infrastructure in the health sector, and we hope that government can allocate enough resources, not only towards supplies, but also infrastructure, machinery in the health sector, especially in rural areas, But with the decentralization of, I think you have seen the devolution that has come in, where government wants to devolve the functions, which is, I think, you know that the Constitution, the 2016 Constitution now allows that government can decentralize its functions to the districts. I think this is what government is now doing to try and empower the districts to make their own decisions. The same way the government came in with the CDF to increase the CDF to say, can you handle most of these things at constituency level? They are now trying to devolve the functions, some of the functions that were being done by the central government, take them to the local government, so that at least we can have local authorities doing some of these functions. Because if they don't have these infrastructure developmental projects that are supposed to be done, they can easily get from the resources that are allocated to the local government and ensure that they have put a toilet, they have put a good infrastructure for the health sector. And also with the devolution itself that we are talking about, we find that when you don't have suppliers, for instance, in the district, at least you can lobby through the CDF and say, we have a 2 million there. Can we at least get a 2 million and buy drugs in the district? Just ensure that at least the district has these commodities. We hope that this is what the devolution is coming with. However, we should mention that we have, as unions, we have engaged the government to say, before the devolution is done, is made to be actualized, can we sit to ensure that we look at what are the issues that may come out? Because we, especially for us as the health sector, we have devolved before. We were under community development, yes, where all our some of our district functions were taken, and even up to now, we still have issues there. That's why we have emphasized to government that before you rush into this program, which is a very good program, very good idea, can we sit to make sure that we arrest some of the issues that may arise out of this devolution. We hope that they are going to give us that attention. I think the president did mention to say sit with trade unions and see that ensure that you have dealt with these issues that may arise, such as, I think you have heard that there is a new disciplinary code, there is a new code of ethics. All these are issues that we need to discuss before they are dispersed and given to the members, so that as they are going there, they know what they will be required to do, what the do's and don'ts in the local government would be, and that is what we are trying to do.
Let's look at now, how important is the issue of private sector participation in the health sector, considering that a government alone cannot employ each and every health practitioner that we are offloading from these higher learning institutions, Mr. Mwimbe. Now, we're talking about sustainable development goal number 3 on health, that seeks to ensure good health and well-being for all. Now, how does the private sector fit into this agenda, and how they can complement the attainment of quality health in Zambia?
I must mention that the private sector, like you mentioned, plays a key role in sustainable development, and they are a very good partner that brings up development to a country like Zambia. And I think we have seen that there has been strides from the private sector to try and help government here and there. But I think in terms of recruitment, government remains the main employer of health workers at the moment. And we have had challenges, especially those that are not even employed. You know, when they go to the private sector, you look at even the conditions in the private sector, they are not matching those that would actually support or even give a reward to the input that our members would go and put there, or our members would go and give there. So our appeal just continues to say the private sector needs to rise to the occasion and see to it that at least they can come in and absorb as many practitioners that have been trained to at least support development. because right now, if I mention the few private sector organizations that have come on board to take up our people, I think Siders has been the only many private sector employer that at least has tried to absorb as many young people, those that are being trained, to take them into these area. I mean, to practice their skills. Of course, we have some that are trying, the Kansas that are coming up. Of course, there are others that have tried, but there hasn't been much, especially for the health sector, I should mention. There hasn't been much from the private sector to try and absorb these people that are being trained. And we hope that they can rise to the occasion and partner with government to ensure that they absorb as many people as we would want to see. So that these skills, because if you are trained and your skills are not being used, you end up even losing those skills. So if we need development, we need to ensure that the skills that we are giving our people, we are putting on our people, are being utilized. You would talk of, sometimes we say this country would develop if only we could focus on utilizing the skills that we have gathered here. You talk of people from agriculture, talk of engineering. We have skills, but even up to today, we still talk about the roads from engineering. We talk about the roads that are still pathetic, when we should have utilized these skills that we have gotten from the highest learning institutions, like University of Zambia. And all we see is that a Chinese will come all the way, because they have the finances, they will come all the way and they will come with their engineers. All they can do is maybe to subcontract you, to say you can only do this and that, which doesn't help the country to develop. If we need to develop, then we need to go into our skills. That's why we have trained all these. Why are we training them? We have doctors that are not working. Why are we training doctors that are not working? We need to rise, all of us, especially the private sector, rising to say, can we utilize these skills and develop this country? I think that is very helpful for us. It would be very helpful for us to develop this country, especially for us focusing on the health sector. We need to make sure that all these skills that have been gathered, that we have put in our people, need to be utilized. We can't have doctors, pharmacists, biomedical scientists, environmental health practitioners just roaming the streets. At the end of the day, they'll become thieves. We need to utilize their skills and ensure that they are offering these skills to develop this country.
Interesting. Well, this is where we are winding up our interview, and Mr. Mwembe would like to get your concluding remarks.
Yeah, probably in our concluding remarks, we would just want to comment on one thing. I know we have been accused over the statement that we gave. There is a statement that we gave over the debt restructuring, and for us, we are not going to change on that statement because we had mentioned that the debt restructuring, I mean the efforts by the President, His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema, is commendable. It's something that we should commend, because if we are talking about the health sector, or these are all these sectors that need resources, then we need to appreciate some of these efforts that have been made to ensure that debt is going to be restructured. And we know that it's not the end. There is still efforts that some efforts that are needed by the President and all his team to ensure that debt is structured. And that's why for us, we should mention that we are happy. We are very elated by that move. That the President himself, who gave himself and said, I'm the number one, he said number one what? Marketer of this. And he went out and made sure that these things are brought to light. That's why we need to commend such efforts, knowing that they have a ripple effect to what is going to be done. If we are going to lobby for more resources in the health sector, then we should start from there to say, do we have resources that are now given? Do we have some space for resources to be given to the health sector? And with this that has happened, we want to lobby for more resources now. that the UPND administration needs now to allocate more resources to the health sector. We need to see, like you mentioned, the development that needs to go to the rural health, rural parts of Zambia, where the health sector needs to change the facelift in the health sector for the rural areas. We don't need to continue seeing the same face. We need to change at least more resources be put in the health sector. That is what we would want to lobby.
Thank you very much. Well, dear viewers, that was the United Health and Allied Workers Union of Zambia President, Mr. Daniel Mwimbe. He was helping us discuss various issues pertaining to the health sector. So we take a quick, short break, then we'll be back on the other side.
It's time! Camnet TV brings to you an exciting kids show called My Creation. Join me, Sarah Chandamangazagia, to interact with kids with special skills and talents between the age range of 9 to 17. This show will come to you every Saturday at 13:30 on Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Ingatamwishiwe pekani tuipushe bwana fia sasa ushe umwana na nyina inganaba kuituruka uwinge kwa munangu atika sambe nani mwe ipushe ina ipushe nyabo mwikere nabo.
Get all the latest updates in court news only on Camnet TV. We take you and make you feel part of the court sessions through our in-depth coverage of the adjudication process. Get informed on those who have been arrested, delayed and denied the police bond or bail victims, persons taking plea, court adjournments, verdicts, and those administration issues in the judiciary. Camnet TV is on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and find us on channel 106 on Topstar. You can also follow and give us a like on our social media platforms. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Thank you so much for still staying tuned to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Indeed, we had quite a very lovely discussion where we're joined by the United Healthy and Allied Workers Union of Zambia President Daniel Mwimbe, who was helping us discuss various issues affecting the healthy sector. He has spoken quite a lot of things that need, urgent attention and address rather. Yeah.
Interesting. So we also did have the health corner with Dr. Mufaya, and also looked at the money market to understand how the kwacha is performing against other major convertibles. And this is where we have to call it a day on the Camnet Breakfast Show, the community edition. It was supposed to have been Miriam Kaimba and Zipporah. It's Miriam Kaimba and I, Patrick Soko. And we'll continue tomorrow with another interesting episode of the Camnet Breakfast Show, the community edition. Interesting enough, today is a holiday, so we hope that we manage to keep you company on the Heroes Day. Today is Heroes Day, and tomorrow will be the Unity Day. Unfortunately for us, we have to work. We have to say our bye-byes for now. Keep it on Camnet.
Bye-bye and stay blessed.